Good morning from beautiful Derbyshire morning, just out walking the dogs and musing on a few things. Those of you who follow our feed will know that I've been highlighting a lot of what seems to be wrong in the industry at the moment. Possibly it's not anything different from what's gone on before. Musicians have always been exploited since the very early days, particularly songwriters, musicians, artists have been fooled into signing contracts that are not fair. They've had their work stolen, and you think that in today's day, with all that we know and all the knowledge around, that we wouldn't be in this situation, but we are. Artists and musicians are being sold down the river, and the same could be said for a lot of creative people. I know writers feel the same. The advent of streaming, both in movies, TV and music, the deals that have been cut do not reflect the talent on which those services are built. I can really only speak about music because that's the area that we live in, but clearly we're being sold down the river. Artists, musicians, everyone connected with people who make music and create music is being sold down by the river, by Spotify, by the labels, the large labels who took stock in Spotify rather than cut the right deal for their artists. Small artists, even harder than ever, because Spotify turned around and said, well, if you don't get enough streams, your song, we're just not going to pay you. And Daniel Ek, or Eek, or whatever the fuck he's called, he continues to rake in the money, as do the labels, as do the Spotify executives. The figure $345 million to Daniel Ek last year. As an artist myself, it's something I do because I love it, and I don't expect to earn a living out of it. I have a day job. What upsets me is that so many great artists, people who have been working at their craft for years, who are several albums into their career, cannot earn a living. And you have to be on Spotify because that's how you get heard, and yet they don't pay. And they've built their business, they're taking the money. When someone is taking $345 million in a year on the back of other people's work and creative endeavours and not paying fairly, something's very, very wrong. I don't know what the answer is. I know for a fact that it doesn't make any difference. If I say I'm not putting my music on Spotify, I have never had a Spotify account personally. I don't like it. There's so much I don't like about it. I don't like the algorithms. I just don't like the business model. But that's nothing. My music not being on Spotify means absolutely nothing to Spotify, and it makes no difference. So those of us who are low down the food chain, yeah, we can keep our music off Spotify. It won't. Daniel Ek will still sleep very well with his $345 million last year. It's not going to affect him. What needs to happen is the musicians, the artists, the people who are actually making money for Spotify in a big way, they need to turn around and say enough is enough. They need to put pressure on the labels. The labels cut deals for Spotify stock rather than looking after their artists. We live in a world, there is a great deal of injustice in this world. There's a lot wrong with this world. And I'm not pretending I've got any answers. But I think we need to ask some questions. We need to ask some questions of the people who are doing well out of music, why the people at the bottom can't survive. And if you cut off the grassroots, and the same goes for live music venues and what's been going on with Ticketmaster, if people at the bottom, at the start of their careers, or the people who are making in what used to be called independent music, the creatives who are making the music that ends up being, you know, the Radioheads, the Rolling Stones of tomorrow, start out as small independent artists who are doing it for love, for passion. If those artists can't survive, then what is the future of this industry? Is the future of this industry AI music made by bots and earning Spotify and the labels millions? I personally don't want to be part of that industry. And maybe something's going to change. It feels to me like we are at one of those turning points, a bit like what happened when punk came in, or electronic music. It feels to me like there is a real need for a sea change in music right now, in the way people are paid or not paid. So if you're watching this and you are one of those lucky people who've had a career or have got a career and are making a lot of money out of music, then you need to think about how you can pay forward, how you can help the people coming up who are being screwed over. There is no other way of putting it. The people who are being treated as slave labour, who earn less than the price of a cup of coffee for their work. And like I say, I'm not talking about people like me who make music because they love it and we have another job. This post or this live has been prompted by someone. I did a demo of our new 636 500, just posted it on my feed a couple of days ago. So a couple of people said, when's the album coming? Nothing would give me greater pleasure than to spend the next 2, 3, 4 weeks in my studio creating an album out of some of the tracks I've started. But the reality is I've got a family, I've got a mortgage to pay, and I have a business to run, because there are people who rely on us for their income. There are people who are relying on us in all sorts of ways. And so for me, music is a passion and, I have to say, a hobby. What's upsetting is that music is becoming a hobby for too many people who actually are, in years gone by, would have been professional artists. The system does not allow for the future Radioheads or Rolling Stones or Oasises of the future. Why are there no bands? Someone asked that question recently. There are no bands anymore. There are no new bands anymore because people can't afford to be in a band. Solo artists, duos, DJs. You know, we're seeing something really serious has changed. Bands, there's nowhere for them to play, or they can't afford to play. British bands can't afford to tour in Europe anymore because of Brexit. America, it's all being sewn up by the monopolies. Something has to change, and change needs to come from the people who have the power. People like me, I maybe have a limited voice, but I'd have no power over the industry. It's the people who have the power in the industry, who have some clout with the labels and with Spotify, who need to make this change. And this is a request from me as a musician, as someone who is passionate about music, to change the industry before it's too late, before all we're left with is people who can afford to make music because they've got independent means, or bots who are making AI music which is built on other people's creative endeavours. We need change. And yes, big artists need to recognise this injustice and turn their backs on Spotify, Apple Music, and force the labels to do something about it before it's too late, before our industry is finished, before the thing that makes our industry so great. And I hate using the term industry, but it is an industry. An industry is built on the backs of the people who are working, and we have an industry, and we need more fairness in our industry. Things are dire. I see it. I see what's happening. People are really struggling, and we risk there being no new Radioheads, Oases, Underworlds. We're at a time when change needs to happen, and the people who need to make that change happen maybe are very comfortable and they're not feeling it. Well, I'm asking you, if you're one of those people, let's do something about it. Let's make change happen. Spotify, the major labels, the whole industry needs to change so that people who have talent and passion and who are going to create the great music of tomorrow can actually afford to eat. Thank you very much. It's good to see you. Stay tuned. Like, comment, positive comments in the comments. I'm about to share this to our feed, so really keen to keep this dialogue going and very keen to hear from anyone who wants to see this change. Hope you have a good day. Morning, Harvey.